Hello, Math Study students. Welcome to another online lesson. Today we will be talking about currency conversion, specifically converting from one currency, which would be money used in a certain country, to a different currency, money used in a different country. We'll be using the mathematics known as proportions to do this. So let's begin by talking about what a proportion is. What is a proportion? A proportion is specifically two fractions that are set equal to each other. If I have one fraction, a over b, and it's equal to another fraction, c over d, that is a proportion. Again, we usually have numbers in there. So if I already know one value, like let's say I have a proportion 1/2, and I set that equal to some other unknown value like x over 10. That would be the setup of a proportion. Usually one is unknown. If I know all the values of a proportion, I'm not really solving anything. So there should be one unknown value using a variable there. Now, how do we solve them? We are going to do something known as cross multiplication. Cross multiply. Cross multiplication is one of the mathematics that is more commonly misused than any other, meaning not used at the right time. Specifically, to cross multiply, you have to make sure that we are crossing over something. The thing we're crossing over is the equal sign. So we're going to cross over the equal sign with the 1 and the 10 here. And what do we do when we cross over it? We multiply. So 1 times 10 gives us 10. We write that down. And then we cross over the equal sign in the other direction. And so we have the x times the 2. We write that down. And then we want to just set them equal. We can't lose the equal sign. So it doesn't matter whether the 10 was on the right side or the left side, whether the 2x was on the left or the right side, but we just put an equal sign in between them. And then we divide both sides by 2, just like regular algebra, and we get an answer of x is equal to 5. That would be an example of using proportions and cross multiplication to solve for an unknown. Well, let's bring that into currency now. This problem, given that 1 South African rand equals 0.2754 Singapore dollars, find out how many Singapore dollars you could buy for 2,500 South African rand. So not knowing much about African currency or even Singapore currency from Singapore, they sort of just tell us what it's called. African is obviously using a currency known as rand, and Singapore is using a variation of the dollar. Well, we know that 1 South African rand is equal to 0.2754 dollars. They go together, so I've put them together in a single ratio or fraction. Now I'm going to set this equal.
Students and staff, please excuse the interruption. At this time, the cast and crew for the Black Heritage Program should report to the auditorium for Mr. Honorado. At this time, the cast and crew for the Black Heritage Program should report to the auditorium. All students should report to their 6th block class as normal. Once again, all students should report to their 6th block class as normal, and directions will be given at that time. Thank you.
When I set up this proportion now, I need to make sure that there are like terms in the top and the bottom. Well, what do I put in the top? That would be my South African rand. So when I set it equal, I've got to have South African rand once again in the top. And in the problem here, there's 2,500 South African rand. So that's what I put up in the top. The thing that would go in the bottom is Singapore dollars. That's what we're looking for. It says how many Singapore dollars. So I don't know how many go there. And so that's what I put in the denominator. As you'll notice, I have dollars here and an unknown amount of dollars. In the top, I've got 1 rand and again the 2,500 rand. How do we solve this? We cross multiply. So I have 1 times x, which gives me a single x, and then I have 2,500 times 0.2754. So I can throw that into a calculator. Once again, it's 2,500 times 0.2754, which gives me 688.5. So 688.5. It's extremely important to label your answers because we've got different currencies going on here. And again, this was going to be in Singapore dollars. So $688.50 if that's what they use for their partial dollars. Given that 1 Australian equals 0.4032 UK pounds, convert Australian into United Kingdom pounds. So once again, I'm taking the two things that they tell me are equal, and I'm making those into a single ratio. I've got 1 Australian dollar over 0.4032 pounds. So I'm putting dollars on the top and I'm putting the UK pounds on the bottom. So I just need to be consistent in the next part here. So it says convert 500 Australian dollars. So I'm going to put that in the top because that's where I'm putting my dollars. And the unknown is my United Kingdom pounds. I'm putting that in the denominator. Now I simply cross multiply. Once again, I get 1 times x, which is just a single x. And then I have 0.4032 times 500, which gives me 201.6. I check my label, and it's United Kingdom pounds that I'm looking for here. And so they use UK, or you can use that fancy L symbol if you know it for pounds. I'm going to do 2 more like this. What does it cost in New Zealand dollars to buy 2,000 if 1 New Zealand equals 0.6328 US dollars? So I have 1 New Zealand, so I'm putting New Zealand at the top, over 0.6328 US in the bottom. Okay, then I set that equal to, they've got 2,000 US dollars. Well, I've been putting US in the bottom, so I'm going to continue doing that, 2,000. This one's confusing because they're both dollars, right? We have New Zealand dollars and US dollars, and so it helps to, again, distinguish which one are we putting in the top and the bottom. You can solve the problem flip-flopping them. Again, you have to be consistent, though. So since US was all in our bottom, that means New Zealand's in the top. And again, it's asking us, what does it cost in New Zealand dollars? That's what we're trying to find. So we cross-multiply. This time, however, when I multiply the x across the equal sign, I get 0.6328x. And then I cross the other way, I get 2,000. Well, x isn't alone yet, so we're not done with the problem. So I'm going to divide both sides by whatever is keeping x from being alone. In this case, that's 0.6328. 0.6328. So now those cancel out. I have x alone, and so I just need to divide 2,000 by 0.6328, and I end up with $3,160. Now that would be 3 significant figures right here. I could also sometimes round to 2 decimals because that's what we often do for money. And if I did that, it would be 3,160.56. Again, dollars. Now, we had dollars for both of our currencies here, and so we were trying to do New Zealand, so I should probably put NZ after my final answer just to be clear that this was New Zealand dollars. Usually in the IB problems, they'll distinguish how much they want you to round to. One last example. If we have 1,000 Hong Kong dollars and we're exchanging it for Philippine pesos, how many pesos will we receive if 1 peso equals 0.1454 Hong Kong? Once again, super important when we're setting up a proportion, we have to make sure that we have like units in the top and the bottom. Well, the ratio that they gave me, or the equality they gave me, 1 peso, so pesos on top, over a certain number of dollars, 0.1454 Hong Kong dollars. The other number I have is 1,000 Hong Kong dollars, so I put the 1,000 in the bottom because that's where my other dollars were. And the thing I'm looking for is how many pesos will I receive. So X goes in the top where I had my pesos. I cross multiply. 1 times 1,000 gives me 1,000. X times 0.1454 gives me 0.154x. Divide both sides by 1,454. 0.1454. Throw that in the calculator, and I get 6,877.58. And check our labels. We were looking for pesos, so I'm just going to label this pesos. You can also check to make sure your answer seems to make sense. 1 peso is worth just pennies of the Hong Kong. So if I had a full Hong Kong dollar, I would have to have many pesos in order to equal that. And so here I had 1,000 Hong Kong dollars, so I would need many, many pesos, many, many more, a full 6,000. So again, it makes sense with what we started with in the original problem. All right, so that is currency conversion. For many of you, this has been a review. Again, be very careful about dealing with your units. Our projects were due this week, so you can ignore that. But we have page 65, number 1 through 4, if you're looking for some practice on the homework. And that is all.